In this video, I'm going to go over some tips on how to deal with reflections, highly reflective items, and how to deal with that in our lighting. Typically, you'll find with things like this that you'll see the entire studio setup reflected in the shoe. And really what you want to do is be able to mask out all the things you don't want to see and just concentrate on what the shoe looks like. We're also going to go over how to emphasize reflections. So we want to show that this has a plastic strap on it. And how do we best do that? Well, light is our friend in that case. Okay, I'm just lining up the shoe here to make sure it's in a good position for our first shot. And already I can see a lot of nasty reflections here in the shoe, some dark stuff that I don't really want to see. So what I'm going to do is probably add a white surface in there just to reflect into the shoe to cover up that. So I've got a little tip for you there. Get yourself a piece of card, cut a hole in it, and then your lens can pop through there and you can kill off all those nasty reflections. So to clean up this reflection here, I'm just going to use a water bottle because it's quite heavy, and that will help prop up the card. You know, drop the card in like this, and then I get a really nice, smooth, even reflection. For my second shot, I'm just going to shoot the back. Now the back has the biggest surface of chrome, so one I need to be the most careful with. So I'm really going to make sure I position my cards well. And that just cleans up this area here on the back of the heel and all around the sides. You can also use a little bit of black. What that does is it just adds a bit more definition around the side of the shoe. And that will just give me the definition here on the side that I'm looking for. So I've got my second bit of card. I'm just going to poke that in here. It's a bit fiddly, but what you could do is make sure that you stick the black card to the paper. We want to be faithful to the shoe, but at the same time, we want to make sure that these edges don't bleed out. So we could add a bit of black in here as well, just to make sure that we've got a nice definition around the sides. So in the case of this shoe, really what we want to highlight is the fact that this is a plastic strap. Now the best way to do that is show a highlight in it so we know it's reflective and we can understand that it's plastic. Now I don't want to confuse the whole situation by having lots of different light sources onto it. So I'm really going to focus on one, and that's my light here coming from the right, and that's going to give us the highlight that we need. I've also paired it with a reflective surface that's subtly reflecting the shoe. Just gives me a more luxurious look as the reflection of the shoe fades away across the plastic. So our second position, because we've chosen just one light source, the highlight sort of stays in the same area and from the same side, and it looks much more natural than having lots of different reflections coming from different sides. Rear 3/4 shot here. So there again, we can really pick out the highlights. So when it comes to a video of this particular shoe, because we've chosen that one source of light, that one direction that the light's coming from, as the shoe rotates during the video or as the camera moves, you'll see the highlight flash across that particular surface. Because it's that one highlight, it's not going to confuse things too much. As it rotates, you see the highlight come into view. It's really nice because it's just showing off that plastic loop in a subtle way. We're really consistent with our reflection. So one extra little tip when shooting glossy leather like this, especially black, is that when you're shooting on a white surface, you tend to bleed out the edges here at the back as the light sort of pours in. Now we could just darken that down, but the problem there is we'd have to get really dark for this to remain black, and then we'd have to spend a long time in post trying to cut that out. So a top tip, just get some black card and either lay it down on the surface behind the shoe. So we're sort of killing off that reflection here. You can also stand the card up and just mask it off here. So we're stopping all of that light just coming through and hitting the shoe. Now we don't want to be right behind the shoe because again we're going to have to post produce that. So just somewhere close to it, just enough to block out that reflection. What I've done here is I've just popped in a tiny bit of card on the side here, and that's just helping mask off the back of the shoe. So this one's a bit more freehand. What I've got to do here is I'm just going to hold it to mask off the top of the shoe. So again, I'm not touching the shoe, I'm just close by, but I'm blocking off that light. So when we've got that there, we've got a really nice clean edge and it's not flaring out at all. So as you can see, the technique is pretty simple, although it can be a bit fiddly. But some simple black and white card positioned in the right areas can really help you cut down those reflections and show off the bits of your product that you really want to highlight.